Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Quest for Truth. Now, we are continuing on in our study through Luke, picking up in Luke chapter 6, where we left off last week. But before we get started this week, I want to jump back just a little bit to have a little bit of a reminder of what we looked at last week, because it's going to play into a little bit this week. So having this idea from last week will help us for this week. So in verse 22, it said, "Blessed are you when men hate you and ostracize you and insult you and scorn your name as evil for the sake of the Son of Man." And then it talks about those men who are those people. And so it says, blessed are you when people persecute you for the name of Christ. And so this week we're going to look at how you're kind of supposed to react or respond in those situations. That's kind of what Jesus gets to next here. And we're going to be looking at Luke chapter 6, verses 27 through 36. So I'm just going to read through the entire thing. "But I say to you who hear, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. Whoever hits you on the cheek, offer him the other also. And whoever takes away your coat, do not withhold your shirt from him either. Give to everyone who asks of you, and whoever takes away what is yours, do not demand it back. Treat others the same way you want them to treat you. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. If you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. If you lend to those from whom you expect to receive, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners in order to receive back the same amount. But love your enemies, and do good, and lend, expecting nothing in return, and your reward will be great, and you will be sons of the Most High, for he himself is kind to ungrateful and evil men. Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful." So again, we're coming off of this idea of these men who, verse 26, "Woe to you when all men speak well of you, for their fathers used to treat the false prophets in the same way." So he's talking about all of these men who are persecuting the people of God. And he says, "But I say to you." So in other words, then these people are coming at you. Don't respond the way that the culture would have you to respond, but rather respond in this way, which is to love your neighbor, to love your enemies, to do good to those who hate you, to bless those who curse you, to pray for those who mistreat you. And that's a difficult task, isn't it? To have your enemies. I mean, just for a minute, think about who your enemies are. It's not, I mean, you might have someone that pops to mind, or maybe you don't. I don't really have anyone that, pops to mind as an enemy, but we see them throughout our days as we go through, the people who, whether they mean to or not, even in the little things of, somebody might cut you off in traffic. Well, that might be in a split second. That might be someone who is your enemy, or it could be someone who, makes fun of you or treats you poorly, or, or worse than that. But our response, our reaction to that, to those people who would come against us to speak ill of us, or to harm us, or whatever the case may be, is to to love them, to do good to those who hate you, to bless those who curse you, to pray for those who mistreat you. Now, that doesn't mean staying in a place that is harmful to you. Maybe it does. I don't, but that's not what he's saying here. He's not saying if you're being mistreated, you should remain in that place and be mistreated. But you should love that person. You should pray for that person. You should do good to them. And so it might not be remaining there. It might be leaving there in order to do what needs to be done. But it's not out of hate that is done. It's out of love. But then it goes even further than that. He kind of almost gives these example. Whoever hits you on the cheek, offer him the other also. And whoever takes away your coat, do not withhold your shirt. Give to everyone who asks of you, and whoever takes away what is yours, do not demand it back. Basically, he's saying if someone takes something from you, then let them have it. If somebody needs something, then give them what they need if they've already taken from you. Or if someone strikes you, don't hold that against them. And then we have one of the most well-known verses here in this passage. Treat others the same way you would want them to treat you. This verse usually gets taken out of context, because when you think about that verse, you think about, in a like the situation that you think of is not what is being put forth in this passage. You think of, being nice to someone who's being nice to you. You'd say, oh, well, if, I would like someone to be nice to me, so I'll be nice to them. Or, maybe it's holding the door, or, that kind of thing. But that's not the context here. The context here is someone who is, being mean to you, being hurtful to you. And so it says, treat others the same way you would want them to treat you. That means so much more in this context, because it's treating someone who would come against you, who would, be mean to you, be hurtful to you. Treat that person the same way that you would like to be treated. And he even continues and kind of drills down this point. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. If you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. If you lend to those from whom you expect to receive, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners in order to receive back the same amount. So he says, that's not what he's talking about. He's not saying love those who love you, or do good to those who do good to you, or lend to those who will give back. But what is he talking about? He says, but love your enemies and do good and lend, expecting nothing in return. So how do we apply this really? It's the expectation of receiving nothing in return for what we do. So not that there's not times when you don't have an expectation of receiving something. I mean, we shouldn't not love people that will return that, but we should also know that's not the depth of godliness, of loving those who love them. That's just an interaction. But he says, expect nothing in return. That's true love. That's loving like Jesus loved us. That's loving like God loves us. Expecting nothing in return, giving when there's nothing that person could do in order to to make that even. And so, not expecting anything, having no expectations of whether it's giving, of like monetarily, like it says, lending, or giving property, lending, that kind of thing, or just giving love or doing something, taking of your time, but not expecting anything in return. But he says this, and your reward will be great. Now he sets this up. He says, expecting nothing in return. And then he says, and your reward will be great. So if you expect nothing, you expect no reward, you will get a great reward. And what is the reward? Well, he tells us, thankfully, because if he didn't, we probably wouldn't know. But he says this, and you will be sons of the Most High, for he himself is kind to ungrateful and evil men. So no, it's not talking about salvation here. It's not saying if you do good expecting nothing and love people expecting nothing in return, then you will be saved. What he's talking about here is being like Christ, being like God. It says, for he himself is kind to ungrateful and evil men. So if we are kind to ungrateful and evil men, then we are being molded into the image of God. That is sanctification. This is that's part of the process of sanctification, of being sanctified, of looking like God. And so as we love and do good and lend, especially to our enemies, to those who hate us, to those who are against us, to those who can't requite that, who can't give anything back from that, that is looking like God. He is kind to ungrateful and evil men, so we should do likewise, to be kind to ungrateful and evil men. Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful. Again, be like God. That's how we are demonstrated as sons of God. They'll know that we are children of God by our love. They'll know that we follow him because we look like him. And that's what the Christians were originally called, where the name Christian even comes from, little Christ, to these people that are acting like Jesus did. They're following him. And so we are to be merciful, just as God is merciful, in the face of, people who are against us, people who would hate us and seek bad for us. We are to show them love and do good to them. And I think really what a lot of the focus of this is on this idea of casting aside materialism. I don't think I know many Christians that would say that they're materialists, but I think that especially in moments of time, we can live like we are. We can put more emphasis on what we have, or what we're trying to get, or what we want to get, over people, over doing what God said. But not just that, but being more like him. I mean, that's what part of what we're here to do, is to become like him. Romans says God works all things out to good for those who are called according to his purpose. And that good in the next verse is becoming more like him, being conformed to him, his image. And so this kind of love for people who can't repay us, who can't give us anything back, but who would rather repay us with scorn or hatred, that is really showing God's love to the people and becoming more and more like him, being sanctified into the image of Christ. I'll see you next week.